Appreciate
Start now, we're rolling.
Get on with it. That was basically.
Yeah. Thanks, Sam.
Anytime you want to actually start.
Yeah. Boring old bastards.
Hello and welcome to episode 24 of the Evo podcast. Deputy Editor James Taylor with you for this one because Editor-in-Chief Stuart Gallagher, who normally sits in this chair, is taking a very rare and very well-earned holiday. But I am joined by Evo's Dickie Meaden.
Hello.
And Henry Catchpole.
Hello.
And on this episode, we're going to be talking about the Lamborghini Temerario, which both of these guys have been driving. But before we get into that, let's catch up on what we've all been up to, what we've been driving. Henry, it's a little while since we've seen you. What have you been up to, and what have you been behind the wheel of?
I've been behind the wheel of quite a few. I've been at Goodwood. Goodwood is kind of like, that's sort of still looming large in the memory because it sort of has that effect, doesn't it? Where I drove the GT3 RS with a Manti kit on it, which I know both of you have driven
snap
as well, which is the classic sort of rush drive up the hill sort of, do you really learn anything? I don't know, but it's quite exactly, but definitely felt kind of much surprisingly sort of noticeably sharp, sort of actually, you think it's all about the aero when you look at it, and it kind of is, and it does look utterly mad.
Yeah, it looks like it shouldn't be legal.
No, because it was parked in the sort of the paddock area next to the Dua Lipa liveried one, which I thought was quite a good livery, apart from the fact the calipers were still the normal yellow, which looked a bit weird, but it could have been worse anyway. But that looked very tame next to the Manti with its shark fin and everything else. It was I can't believe how sharp the throttle was as well. The throttle map in track was everything feels sharpened in it, because same as you, I sort of jumped in it just before I ran to the hill, learned where the controls were on the way to the start line. But even though it's all about aero, there's so much mechanical grip from it. You sort of got to the first corner and turned a bit and realised, I almost need to take a bit of lock off here. But yeah, I mean, you don't really feel the downforce on, a minute or so up the hill, but it's quite a machine. Yeah, it certainly is. And it's still, for best thing about it for Goodwood this year, which was roastingly hot, was it still has air conditioning.
Yes.
So it looks like a race car, but it's got air conditioning, so you can sit there and
they deleted the right bits.
Kind of, exactly. Yeah.
But Dickie, you've driven that car on the road. I mean, it looks like
I have, it wasn't that actual car, but a friend of mine actually had the first UK converted car, so he let us jump in that quite a few months ago now, actually. Seems like a long time ago. But I love Manti stuff. I'm a proper Manti fanboy. I think when I was racing at Nürburgring, the early years of that was when they first came in and just kept winning and winning and winning in all their cars. And I've driven a number of different generation Manti GT3s and things, and they're always they were actually more hardcore than they are now, because they used to mess with the engine as well and do.
There's a 4.2, wasn't there?
Yeah, 4.1s, 4. I think they went up to 4.3 at some point, and all the chassis stuff and some aero stuff, but they've really kind of zeroed in on what they can do. The thing I find amazing about the Manti RS is that it's still all homologated.
Since Porsche, when did Porsche sort of get the controlling share or whatever?
A little while ago now, a few years ago. But so they have to comply with all the homologation regs. So even though it generates that much more downforce, I think why they took so long to do the car is because they still have to achieve the same homologated.
That's all. It's like the edges, isn't it? Have to be a certain thickness
and the same fuel efficiency
stuff.
So it has to be kind of drag neutral, all of that stuff, which is crazy when you see how much more. It's just everywhere, isn't it? Smothered in wings and dive planes and channels, and it's so extreme in that regard.
Was at the Nürburgring a couple of weeks ago. We had a guided tour of the Manti HQ, which is getting bigger and bigger because they're recruiting more and more people. But they talked us around that car there, and they exactly the point you made, because it's homologated by Porsche and it's a kit for a series production car, not a one-off. It has to fit all the same rules for drag, because the GT3 RS is already pretty much on the limits, being quite an aero car for homologation. And the guy who showed us had a really nice analogy, was it's like eating a load more food, but somehow you've got to weigh the same amount of weight. And it's...
That'd be good. Henry does that with chocolate chip cookies, to be fair.
I can see you going up.
No, I love it. I think they're a very cool bunch there. They're the kind of triple distilled motorsport department, aren't they?
Yeah.
Really. But I think they do work quite closely with Andy Preuninger's team. So I think some of the other ways they get to do the things they do, I think the GT department had looked into some aero parts, but
so it's sort of planned in.
But it would take too long for them to apply them in the line manufacturing process, apparently. So I think like some of the extra fins on the roof and stuff like that,
which are actually channeling air away from the engine into
hot air down the sides and cool air over the top, isn't it? So it's a really the deeper you dig into that car, the more interesting it is, and it's very different. Like the GT3. Do you remember the GT3 we had?
I do. Yeah.
On the Track Car of the Year.
Yeah.
Feature a few years ago. It was a very, very different car to the regular GT3, just in the way they set the car up. And I think we all feel that their obsession is Nürburgring, but they do test them on a lot of other tracks to make sure that But what they tend to find is what works at other tracks doesn't always work at Nürburgring, but generally what works at Nürburgring will yield improvements elsewhere. So I love those cars, but it does look completely ridiculous. Like people are just like, what just drove past me?
Even in that sort of Goodwood setting where there's just something everywhere you look, it still felt like a car that people were actually quite excited to see, and it was sufficiently wild.
I don't know about you, I kept looking in the main rear mirror and then not seeing anything, obviously, because there is no rear window. It's all been taken away by that big aero fin. But it felt, Goodwood Hill, not the most exhaustive test, but it still felt very drivable and rode pretty well over the bumps.
It's pretty hardcore on the road. It is stiffer, but they've gone into the all those switchable dampers, so all of that still works, but they've got their own take on.
Because it's the first time they haven't put a sort of full passive set up on the car, isn't it?
But the thoroughness of it is it's like another model. It's marketed as a kit, but it feels like they've just developed a new car almost.
And it is a kit that costs six figures by the time you've sort of bought it and had it fitted and everything. So it should be pretty comprehensive, I guess, but it is. But that wasn't the only car that you were in at Goods, and not the only one you were.
I'd nearly forgotten. Yes, they were. Just like what else? I went back so I drove that on Thursday, then I had a couple of days off from Goodwood, went back on the Sunday, had a ride with Travis Pastrana.
I've heard of him.
Yeah, he's done a couple of those internet videos. But in the Subaru that he rallies over in the ARA.
Right.
And it was kind of, I'd met him once very briefly in the past, but it was sort of it's one of those experiences of just to spend 10, 15 minutes, because it doesn't take as long up on the rally stage, but sort of in the car with him, and he talks at 1,000 miles an hour. He's like,
is he like that all, because he's just fully on all the time, isn't he?
So in the sort of the couple of hours I was up there and sort of in his orbit, as it were, he just didn't stop. He was always either signing an autograph or had a pile of posters that just seemed to sort of just disappear in front of him. He's frantically signing them, and it's just in the car. He was high straight off. You'd ask questions. It was just manic, absolutely manic.
And what's it like seeing his car control at first hand? Because
it felt to me like he drove it kind of like a Gymkhana car.
Right.
A lot of early entry kind of sliding. It's that rally stage up there it seems to be just so slippery.
Right.
Whatever you
the
do.
Dust is kind of like
it looks super unforgiving as well. Is there anything more unforgiving?
Trees.
Absolutely. I drove it years ago in the Twingo. I did the Jim Clark rally, and it was one of the wet years at Goodwood, and then it just gets.
It's like clay, isn't it?
And it's just
horrible.
And of course, in a front wheel drive Twingo, it's fine because you can shed all the stuff from the front wheels to keep them spinning, but the rears, just as you're about 100 yards in, they've just clogged up, and they're just like slicks.
So it sort of changed the ride height of the car at the back. You sort of like
I had Gethin Jones next to me.
The TV presenter.
No, not Gethin Jones, the TV presenter. No, our friend Gethin Jones.
It's all flat here.
He's a good, exactly, yeah.
Surely before he crashes.
He was a good rally driver, and. He was just, we laughed the entire way around, and I was just on the handbrake the entire, because I had a camera in there, and I was like, I wasn't on the handbrake that much. It just I looked back, and it was like one hand just trying to get the thing to turn in everywhere. But no, it was super impressive. I had a ride in an old Group N Impreza as well, just before I wanted to sort of have a ride. It was the Typhoon liveried one, and the contrast between the two was incredible, because again, when it gets hot up there, the clay bakes and it's like concrete, so it's such a harsh surface, and it was there were ruts in there, and the way that the modern car, which is a big car as well, which for a narrow rally stage, but the way the suspension just dealt with it is amazing. And actually on that, it's sort of all the rally stuff. You've got me on here. I'm not going to talk rally. Sorry. We should mention Oliver Solberg winning in Estonia, which is amazing.
What a brilliant result.
Absolutely
amazing result.
And Elliot Edmondson as well, his co-driver,
and by a big margin as well, wasn't it?
It was amazing,
like 20-30 seconds the whole rally, which is unheard of, isn't it?
That first day, fair enough, he had kind of road position, and it was like, regardless of that, he did an amazing job to be leading, but there was that sense that second day he's got 2 world champions in Tanak and Nerval chasing him down, and Robin Perrin not that far behind as well in exactly the same car, and you're like, he's not going to have the advantage second day, it's probably going to get whittled down. It's still amazing, and he didn't. He just absolutely, he didn't put a foot wrong. All the stuff he's been doing in Rally 2, you can see how he's kind of matured in there, because he's not just quick, he's really, really good at managing a rally now. And he's apparently been bugging Sebastian Ogier all the kind of like throughout a rally, he'd sort of be bugging him, sort of, what should I do here? What do you think of that?
Really
and stuff
leaning
like that.
on the knowledge.
And he's just executed.
I hope that's his probably the wrong analogy, isn't it? But his Mansell moment, where he's sort of nearly there, and then he wins, and then he just keeps
winning. He's going to be back in a Rally 2 car in Finland, which seems weird now. But yeah, that was amazing. But
very happy about that.
The other person that was, it kind of all slightly went under the radar, but Brandon Semenuk, who has been racing with Travis Pastrana and the Subarus out in America the last few years, and Travis had nothing but good things to say about Brandon and the speed and just the commitment. I think he was the guy that made Travis sort of think, I'm not sure I've kind of got this anymore, and it's actually made him sort of step back from kind of it, because he was realising how hard he was having to try and push just to kind of keep up with Brandon. And Brandon Semenuk, for those that don't know, he's massive in the world of mountain biking and downhill mountain biking, and
not short of bravery.
So he's properly unhinged then.
Yeah, he is, but he's so stylish on a bike as well. It's like he will do stuff like Rampage, the massive stuff in Utah.
He must have a brilliant feel for the surface though, mustn't he? Just an instinctive kind of sense of how much speed you can carry. And I
know he's done quite a bit of work with Martin Rowe, ex-British Rally champion, out there, and he's just got it. You can see like the onboard stuff, it's that sort of economy of input, but as you say, the feel and the flow he's got. And he came across to Finland, did a round of the Finnish Rally Championship, and only got beaten by Esa-Pekka Lappi.
What was he driving?
He was in a Skoda, I think, so Fabio, and I think it was self-funded as well.
Wow.
So it would kind of be good to see if he can kind of. It's the first time in ages he looked at something and thought,
it's a real shame with rally, isn't it, that it doesn't get the.
Yeah.
I know the cars have sort of slightly disappeared up their own tailpipes a bit, haven't they? They're awesome things, but you look at them when they drive out of a stage, and they're freakish, aren't they? Just the way they sit on the road, and you've got this vaguely recognisable body sat on top.
Yeah, because they're all space frames.
But there's nothing to do with the car underneath, is it?
Which is kind of why there's been a lot of call for it to come back to the Rally 2 regs basically as being the top order, because they've obviously taken the hybrids out of them this year because that was too complicated and just wasn't really working for anybody. And the next set of rule changes, it feels like there are so many more manufacturers in Rally 2 as well.
A couple of years more, Henry, there'll be Mark II Escorts.
Exactly, but yeah, it's I don't know. I'd be happy to see more of it. So. Fairly obviously.
Yeah, no, it deserves more coverage, doesn't it? Definitely.
But yeah, Travis was great and hugely impressive, and it was quite the experience.
I can imagine. Yeah.
What have you been up to, James?
Well, I haven't driven anything off road, not even unintentionally, but but I've been testing the Delara EXP, which is the track version of the Delara Stradale.
Yeah.
So I'm not quite sure why it's not called the Delara Pista. That would probably make more sense. But it's a beautiful thing, because the Stradale is a road car with a real track slant. It develops all this huge amount of downforce. I think more than 800 kilos of downforce at top speed.
Well, given Delara make most people's racing cars for them, it's got some pedigree, hasn't it?
They've had a bit of practice at downforce and carbon fibre and all of that stuff. So this is them let off the leash a little bit with that car. This develops something like 1,240 kilos of downforce at top speed, which is about 180 miles an hour.
And what does it weigh?
And it weighs dry. It is, oh God, now you're testing me. It's 855 kilos dry.
Yeah.
And which is pretty much the same amount of downforce the normal one develops. So the normal one's like a 1-to-1 ratio of downforce to weight, and this one's even more.
Yeah, that's significant gain, isn't it?
But it's just a kind of beautiful object as well. You know, some track day specials look a bit like kind of backyard specials.
Yeah,
when
they
you get
don't
up
have
close
much
to them.
finesse to the way they look, do they?
Yeah, but this one, as you'd expect of a company that works with carbon fibre, all the finish is beautiful. Everything you touch has this really nice kind of rate of input. The steering, there's no power steering, so it gets really heavy. We were driving at Anglesey where we set all the Evo's lap times.
Yeah.
And the really quick bit of the track where you go right up the top of the hill, it's a bit of a workout to actually turn the steering through there. And then the engine is the Ford EcoBoost.
I was going to say, is it still the Ford engine?
Yeah, the 2.3 litre that's been in various Focuses. And it's a weird one, depending on your standpoint. It's either the weakest area of the car because it's a bit workmanlike, I guess, and it'd be nice if it had a kind of naturally aspirated high revving engine.
Yeah, but I guess it does the job, doesn't it? And you know it's going to be dependable and serviceable and all the things.
Exactly. It develops big power, and it's also quite light because this car's all about keeping the weight down. So it's compact and lightweight, good for the package, and it has all these incredible turbo sounds, all these kind of wastegate chatter and dump valve noises. You hear the boost building, and it sounds like a Group C car or a 80s F1 car. In my head, I've not driven one, but it's
how much is it?
It is the thick end of £200,000, so it's a fair bit. So the regular Stradale, I think, starts from 160,000, but you can easily get that up above 200, depending on which options you choose.
It's weird with prices, isn't it? Because instinctively, I think exactly that. It's kind of well, that's a big chunk of money, and then the stuff that is out there now, it's sort of
then it's like, is it?
Exactly.
I don't know anymore.
Now you know an Audi RS3 is 70 grand, isn't it? And a Golf GTI is what, 45,000 pounds, and that's sort of just everything is now such a level above what in my head or our heads where it should be. But
and BAC monos are big money, aren't they? And those kind of very serious.
That's the closest thing it reminds me of. I've not driven a mono, but in terms of its appearance, sort of the way it's this sort of really lovely object.
It's two-seater though, isn't it, the Delara?
Or is the EXP? The regular Stradale is. This car, the second seat is an option, basically.
Is it?
So if you want to have a driver coach or, scare your friends and family, you can spec the passenger seats. And I think that's the most appealing element of it for me, to have it as kind of a plaything and have Rent-A-Track, because they offer packages as well. So if you want, Delara now has a UK sort of sales agent. So if you want track support, they'll turn up with a team who'll run the car for you. And the thought of maybe having a coach in there with you to push you, and then having friends have a go, and them riding with you riding with them. It's one of those weird niche products.
It sort of feels like the car someone would, if they've kind of worked their way through and they've bought a GT3 RS or something.
Where do you go next?
And spent virtually the same money, and it's still relatively heavy, so it's going to go through tyres and go through brakes and actually, and you want something that isn't rooted in road car.
And this comes on a really narrow set of slicks developed by Pirelli with Delara, so they're much cheaper than normal slick tyres, so you can throw more tyres on it. They have to have really stiff sidewalls to cope with the downforce, so they're quite unique, but they're only 200mm wide at the front, which helps with steering feel. Really unusual for a modern car. So it doesn't really feel like anything else I've driven in a good way. So I just need to finish writing the words for that for the magazine, which goes to press this week.
You've got whole days, Joe.
Dickie's still doing last issue, so
Well, speaking of which, what have you been driving, Dickie? You've been really busy.
July, this will probably, don't know when this will go out, next week maybe, so we'll still be in just out of July, but the whole month's been an absolute non-stop.
Feet bloody touched the ground.
Started with F80, which we'll talk about in another podcast, I think, but started with that, then came back, then pretty much straight into the 2010s.
Yes,
era's test, which is the next instalment.
That's right. Our Through the Decades feature is continuing. It's the penultimate instalment, which will finish with the 2020s, and we'll cover that in a separate episode where we'll go into a bit more depth on.
Yeah, so that was a big. They've all been big efforts, haven't they? With a big bunch of
kind
cars
of a mini e-coty in a way.
Yeah, sort of 3 days driving and photography, which is always good fun. So came back from that, and then I went down to Goodwood, but I didn't actually go to the Festival of Speed. Land Rover were holding a Defender drive event, so I'm very fortunate that I've just got an Octa long-termer, which I absolutely love. So I drove that down and then had the chance to drive one on there. They had a fast off-road course. That is really like slow, tight off-road course to drive the other Defenders, but holy moly, I had the fast course in the Octa, bloody hell. It's really, like, I would say that with knife I've just got on, but it's really impressive.
I can imagine.
Really quick, and the punishment the car takes, because there were some proper jumps and proper like single wheel landings, and you just are like in the car going, oh my god, but it just seems to shrug it off. So it's such a cool car. I love what they've done.
I had one for a couple of days, sort of. Obviously wanted to drive one ever since it sort of came out, and it was, I wanted to do.
Did yours
what
come
you
on
did,
on the 20-inch
the proper
knobbly tyres? Which it shouldn't it should feel awful on the road, shouldn't it? You think it's not going to steer, but it's really good.
I'm not sure I could have one as a long term because I can lose my license in it. Because you do just kind of want to, every time you get in it, just sort of, it's like if you got into a GT3 and just turn everything up and just head it off.
I think that is, I know the Hackney 2-car garage, but I think an Octa and a GT3 or
that covers a lot of bases.
GT3 RS or something, or a Caterham, I don't know. That would
for the week and a half you had your license left, it would be mega, wouldn't it?
No, it's so good. It's such a.
If you had an Octa, actually, you wouldn't need to go on the road, so you'd probably be all right.
Yeah, that's it. You just plot a different route, wouldn't you? I love it because it's authentic, isn't it? It's so many SUVs are kind of, they're trying to be something that they struggle to deliver on, but it's got a bit of the Lamborghini Sterato about it, hasn't it? But with the extra capability to back it up, really. So that was most of the month, and then Henry and I were on the Temerario launch, which we've just got back from, haven't we? Well,
let's have a quick break.
Can we have a break because you're bleeding?
Am I?
Oh gosh.
Well, that is a good time for a break. We'll be back with you in a minute.
Wow.
Maybe see you after the break.
Podcast injury.
Welcome back to the Evo podcast. This episode we're going to be talking about the Lamborghini Temerario, which these guys are literally just back from Italy driving. So this is the long-awaited successor to the Huracán, and controversially not a V10, it's a V8.
No, we've been waiting, haven't we, since the first announcement, and we all got very excited about the 10,000 RPM Redline plus hybrid plus turbos plus. Frustratingly, it was just on track though, wasn't it? Which is kind of, it tells you some of what you want to know, but it doesn't tell you.
It felt like particularly this time for some reason. Sometimes you can go and do a track only launch and feel like you kind of get enough time in the car, and sort of there's ways you can find to get.
I think when cars were more simple and they had fewer modes and less bandwidth or breadth of what they can do, I think it was much easier to drive it and think, right, I've got a really good handle on this. But now you've only really got a sense of what it's like in a particular mode when you're driving it flat out, which is, it's useful for some things. And it sounds like we're moaning, doesn't it? Probably because we are. But the launch, I've never been on a launch where they threw so much information and opportunity.
Some of it after you'd driven the car, which was sort of...
Oh, okay.
Well, because there were like 16
something
media
like that,
members or something, and they divided us into groups of 4, and then
it was a sort of round robin.
We rotated, didn't we, through driving, but then they had the really big guns there, didn't they? From Stefan Winkelmann downwards.
Reuven Mur, CTO.
Mitya, the design boss. They were all there. Yeah. And actually, normally you get a round table with everyone for 20 minutes. This one, you had 40 minutes with all of them with a very small group of people. Yeah. So from that point of view, it was really good. And they used really cool, the Apple Vision stuff to look at the car and see all the airflow, and you could look inside the engine, and all of that was really good. But in between that, you're being dropped into a 900 horsepower car and expected to switch on and follow an instructor just like 1-to-1 for 4 or 5 laps, and then come in, and then you're out of the car, and then you're speaking to... It was really full on and fun. Yeah,
but intense.
Yeah, and I wasn't trying to do as much as... Henry's trying to shoot a full form film for Haggerty.
Talk about Senna testing the MP48B for some reason, because I thought that would be a nice thing to introduce at some point. So kind of, let's go and do that piece to cameras.
I don't know. It's a very Lamborghini in some senses, and then it's not like a Lamborghini at all in others. I'm quite confounded by it, really.
So the route I went down with sort of some of the stuff in the video, and I never like to go there with a kind of the preconceived idea about the car, but equally with this launch, it was sort of, you think, right, I think I know where Lamborghini's going, or sort of trending, I suppose would be the word. And it was because Technica, which I still think is a massively underrated car, agreed. I think that's going to be one that we look back in years to come and go, actually, that was just so much fun, but also still had the V10. It was just, I think everybody looked at it too much as a sort of just, it's another Huracán, sort of
like a run-out
treading water till we get the Temerario.
And it came out after quite a lot of other special Huracans,
exactly,
didn't it?
and the Stirato was out at the same time, so that
STO
kind of
was not long before that, wasn't it? And Evo was just before that. So,
but it was, I thought that was, but it felt much easier to drive, sort of, or just nicer on the limit than earlier Huracans, I thought. And then I drove Rivuelto, and that was like, it's
a remarkable car.
No other big V12 Lambo before it, in terms of just that ability to really grab it by the scruff and it feel drivable, sort of. And this, from what I'd seen, I thought it would be, and it kind of was. It was for a 900 brake horsepower Lamborghini to be able to jump in it and drive it that fast, and it was, as we'll get to in a bit, it's doing a lot, and I'm not saying it's necessarily sort of going to be everyone, but there is this sort of, seems to be this differing attitude now in Lamborghini, that they don't have to be sort of just awe and mighty engines, and sort of,
it's not just the drama,
they've tried to make them more approachable, I think, and I think that seems to be sort of kind of bring the playfulness into sort of the driving modes and stuff like that, which is, and that seems to be, I think a lot of it's down to Reuven Mur, who's the CTO, and kind of his attitude towards cars felt like it kind of aligned.
You got the sense it was his, not his baby, but certainly the sort of dynamic fingerprint of it was clearly his, driven by his.
And he came in for Technica.
That's right.
So it's kind of,
he's very hands-on, isn't
like
he?
I like, he's super enthusiastic, isn't he? And good fun and very straightforward. You ask him a question and he gives you an answer, and it was great to spend time with them. I just felt a little bit like it was. I was kind of waiting for the event,
right?
And low speed. Again, this is with a caveat that you've got a crash helmet on and you're on a track, but I wanted to feel some slight fizz of anticipation beyond the sort of professional curiosity about what the car is, because I didn't go there with any preconceived idea as to what it might be, because it doesn't help if you do that.
Absolutely not.
But I still think the Revuelto has, I think it illustrates that there's a tipping point, I think, with the engine, and that engine is still such a spectacular part of the car, and the way it delivers its performance, and just the size of that car, and it is an event to drive at all times and pretty much at all speeds. And I found it only occurred to me while I was writing the story, actually, but it feels like the Temerario is actually thinking it's the R8 replacement.
I see, yeah.
To me. And if you drove an R8 and a Huracán, the Huracán always had a bit more balls and a bit more grit, and it wasn't necessarily harder to drive, but it was just a bit short-tempered and I don't know, it just had some excitement, and the engine had a bit more fire in it than the Audi. This feels like it's finally a sort of Audified Lamborghini, which I think we've been fearing for decades.
I think back at the beginning of the sort of product plans for this car, it was going to be twinned with what was going to be the next R8, which then never happened in the end.
This may have been a mad conspiracy theorist, but it wouldn't surprise me if the state the VW group is in currently and Audi's plans for everything being electrified, and it would be quite easy for them to repeat the process, I would say, and make a new R8
because I think
on that platform.
Because part of the reason it has an aluminium chassis as opposed to a carbon fibre one like the Revuelta was because of the potential twinning with the R8.
So I think that probably, I don't have a downer on it, and I think it feels very refined and very supple as much as you can tell, because it rode the curbs really nicely, and it wasn't.
It's got the same. I'm going to say Magna Ride because I can't say the other word.
Yeah.
Magneto-rheological.
That's it. Yeah, absolutely. Easy for you to say. As the Revuelta, isn't it? Which
and all the hybrid hardware is broadly the same, but they've created a car that is very different in character. It's so much more approachable. But it's this weird, because you get all the torque, like you're driving the car and you get this weird sort of sense of, you've got this kind of almost like a naturally aspirated screamer of an engine that needs working, but then with all this shove as well, and tractability and flexibility, so we're there like hell-bent 10,000 RPM, but actually you could probably just short shift and so there were times where I thought, why am I wringing this car's neck beyond 8? Because it just I don't know how much of that you're going to be access on the road, in all honesty, and if you don't, then I don't know what it gives you.
That's the big
beyond any of the others, and they've gone to so much effort to make that engine, which I applaud. And
it's an amazing engine, isn't it?
You wouldn't want them not to have done it, but I think it just shows how little opportunity there is for any manufacturer now to express themselves, because they all end up following the same path. Ironically, I wonder whether I might appreciate the Ferrari V6 more now that it's not similar to the Lambo and the McLaren, and because it feels like a slightly warmer character to me now.
Okay, and well, if we recap the basics of the car, so it's brand new V8, 10,000 RPM redline, 3 electric motors. You got one kind of at the back sandwiched between the engine and the gearbox.
Yeah, it's very much in the engine. It's not because the Revuelta's got its e-motor at the back in the gearbox. Right. This is very much
it's
part
not sort of integrated in the
It's integrated
transmission.
into the engine, because that's the only way they could make that engine work with the massive great turbos that are on top of it, because they need the big turbos for the high RPM.
Right.
But that obviously then left as Davide Bizzari is the engine guy, and he describes he's like turbocharged. He's like a short blanket. You kind of either have it up there, it's cold, or kind of
that's a really good analogy.
So we had to have the hybrid. He said to the point where the GT3 version's engine, which cannot have the axial flux motor in it, the turbos are so massively much smaller. He said obviously only has to produce like 600 brake horsepower as opposed to 789, but they had to kind of completely rethink it, because it can't have the big RPM, because it can't have the axial flux to fill in at the bottom. So and
then there's 2 further electric motors on the front. It's got this front e-axle. Do you feel the torque vectoring going on at the front as you drive it? Is it quite a big part of?
I don't think you can put your finger on it and say this is what's happening. It just you feel the effect, but there's no. It's not like all these cars, isn't it? Now, like I'm not going to talk about the F80 until the next podcast, but the way they've got these things that aren't actually, so many elements of them aren't physically connected, but everything's so tightly woven together, you don't feel the joins. I think
it's not like an old 4-wheel drive system where you can kind of tell it's kicking.
I think it's just a
very shuffling torque forwards, or
depending on the mode, it's either more neutral and it gets you out of the corner quicker, or it rotates more earlier, and then it requires a little bit more managing. And Corsa is the one that's more effective and gets you out of the corner and down the straight, and Sport is the one where the car's slightly freer. And in the stuff that's really interesting is how they use the different motors to achieve that sense. So in Sport, they bring the rear motor in earlier and ahead of the front motors, so it gives you that more natural rear-wheel drive feeling. But if you need to put the power down on the traction and feel stable, then the front works harder sooner. And it's all very subtle stuff. It's almost like you've put a grippier set of tyres on the car or something with each mode.
You really tell going from Sport to Corsa. Obviously locks the dampers down as well that bit more, but you felt a proper change in how it wanted to be driven.
I think Sport will be fun on the road, and that's what I'm kind of hoping for, is that actually it all comes together and we have really only seen one side of the car, and that it will be allowed to show its more kind of more playful side on the road, chassis wise, and I'm sure it'll feel nice and light and wieldy because the control weights are so modest.
And even I felt like it didn't, sort of doing some of the corner for cameras and stuff, and actually not trying to go big sideways on it, just drive it quickly. The way you could set it up, the Bridgestone seemed really progressive, and you could have it kind of like just 4-wheel drifting, kind of no real steering inputs, but just sliding on the
it's interesting.
It felt really nice to me.
Bridgestone it's the only tyre. But you've got a choice of Potenza Sport or Potenza Race. And Race, you could say, is like a Cup 2R equivalent, except they've deliberately sacrificed the last few tenths over a lap
on the limit,
but it'll sustain the same lap time for 30 5 sets of 4 or 5 laps.
I see.
And it won't drop off, and the wear rates are less,
as opposed to what I think he was referring to, which was 296, and because the Cup R on that was literally
sort of bonfire.
I mean, it was
like qualifying tyres on a road car, aren't they?
That was the most extreme I'd ever felt from a Cup 2R, because it was just, you went out and it had that sort of bubblegum feeling of kind of like a proper slick, where you're like, it's not, and then it would
they feel
up,
like
and then
it feels like
one skid and it's gone. It was like sort of completely over it. You can't.
They feel like the wheels are square, don't they? When you drive on cold Cup 2Rs, oh god, this is awful.
And then you come across and say, well, this is amazing. You make a mistake and it's like, well, that's that done, isn't it?
So it's a thoughtful car, isn't it? I think they've put a lot of thought into it, and they've tried to kind of thread a needle between all the other, let's face it, very good cars that they're competing against.
And as a kind of, if you're looking at it as a baby Lamborghini, if you're looking at it as the gateway supercar to other things, then having that approachability, you can certainly see it being a good thing. If it's my first supercar, sort of, and it's not that, but because it's much more serious than that. But
it's classic Audi VW group as well, isn't it? If this is the Golf GTI, there will be a Golf R, and there will be a Club Sport, and there will be a...
Sure, so we can expect an equvalent to an STO or whatever that may be.
Yeah, and I no one, probably because I have zero engineering knowledge, but my well, how hard could this be? I thought, you could take the front e-axle off and send all the battery power to the rear motor, and then you'd have a rear-wheel drive car that's probably 150 kilos lighter, and there was just like that sort of emoji face. It's like proper. But anyway, time for lunch. But I think there will definitely be a Performante or an STO, and God knows what that'll be like, because we were. I think we were the first group to drive the car, so we got there, got our lanyards, and right, you're in this group, so you jump in the cars, and okay, sat in the car. And then literally within 2 minutes, we're doing 190 miles an hour on the start-finish straight, which go into a
downhill
braking area into a second gear corner.
It's an unforgiving track, Esther.
And we're following a car, which is always disconcerting anyway.
Yeah.
It's like, holy shit, this is... like, come around, yep, it really is going this. Yep. It's such a fast car. But and it's clearly, on one hand, it's trying very hard because... it's like screaming to 10,000 RPM, but on the other hand, it just does it lap after lap after lap. It's crazy quick.
I think it's sort of I like Estoril as a track, but it's kind of quite when you look back at it, the ease with which I could deliver lines to camera whilst driving it driving it actually sort of harder than sometimes you really have to kind of back off from like outright pace, because I simply can't ride a ram in terms of trying to do that many things at once. But this one I felt like, no, I can actually really extract a lot of performances while still thinking and talking to camera, which says more about the car than it does me, I think
it's one of those depends on your stance on all that, doesn't it? It's either the best thing about the car or it's the thing that makes you wonder
so if you want a car that you can deliver lines to whilst you're going around track,
any budding video presenters. I find I'm quite conflicted because whilst I completely accept that Ferrari would say the same thing, that their customers are using these cars more. I think they were saying the last sort of Huracans were being driven 5,000-6,000 miles a year.
Yeah.
I sort of question why would you, like, it's a supercar, isn't it? It's not a daily driver. You want it to be something that's a real event, and I'm not going to drive it to the station or drive it to the airport or...
So you've got your Octa for that.
Doesn't everyone?
Drive over the fence into the car.
Why do I need a car like this with this level of performance to literally be as easy to drive as a Golf?
I suppose that the Huracan was always very easy to drive around town, wasn't it?
Maybe it does just boil down to the engine. Like, if I owned a Huracan, I have no doubt that every now and again I would walk to my garage, open the door, and start it up just for the hell of it, just to listen to it and be next to this thing and just experience that. I would never do that with a McLaren, with a Ferrari, with all this. So it's not sort of hating on Lamborghini because they're the only ones that are grappling with this. And
if you're going to lose a big V10 to go to a 10,000 RPM V8 is
I guess they had to have a point of difference from everyone else.
You're looking at all the other engines who were bemoaning the sort of the downsizing, the turbocharging, all that. I did certainly think it's something, like you say, it's something different, isn't it? And I loved the way it sounded at the top end. I thought that really sort of motorbike.
It has a very hard
sort of that was, but as you say, sort of the bits lower down when you're kind of not just on electric power, obviously, but kind of the and you didn't really hear it. You stand on the pit wall. There's no noise. Sort of tingle from
very
from the
little noise,
which was
interesting.
It really was that, as you say, it's that narrow window of really going for it. Top end.
I think
that's where you inside the car. That's where you hear it.
Right. I think and they've worked hard with you read the press release and they've even down to trying to get the right kind of vibration, transmitting the right kind of vibration through the car and cancel out some of the others, and then they've got the sort of Symposer thing as well that adds a bit of kind of richness to the tone, but inherently it's not a particularly nice noise. I would have said, which
that was the question I was intrigued to ask both of you, because sound is such a subjective thing, but also it was such a USP for the Huracan. The way it sounded was such a big part of it.
I mean, they're on hiding to nothing, aren't they?
Exactly.
Because I'm sure even if they were allowed to generate the same amount of drive-by noise now as they were with a Huracan, it would sound a lot better because they could let the thing sing a bit more. Everything is so virtually on mute. It was the same with the F80.
And the 12 cylinders as well.
And
surprisingly
you look how
so.
that's come back from the 812 in terms of its sound.
But then that's all a nonsense, isn't it? Because the manufacturer has to turn themselves inside out to not make any noise, and then the first thing someone's going to do is go to
stick a TV on it,
Popovich or someone, and stick a loud exhaust on it.
Yeah.
Which
people don't do that with Lamborghinis, though. So
no, they're very, very discreet, aren't they? Famously, Lamborghini.
There was a lot of motorbike chat actually, kind of obviously from the way the engine revs, but there was also in the design. One of the many things we sat through was the design one, and actually I'd thought the rear of the car was, when I'd seen the images of it, I was like, I'm not sure about that at all.
I love the rear of it now.
Yeah.
It shows so much tyre.
It's
at the
amazing,
rear,
isn't it?
You
Yeah.
get the full, 325 or something section rear, and it's quite high cut as well. So you get a good, probably more than half the tyre.
I did a complete fault factory on that, because it was and then the whole thing he was talking about, the high exhaust being like the motorbike, and it's kind of, and sometimes you think, I don't know, it's like, I see that. It's kind of that was.
Well, that's Mitya Borka, isn't it? The chief designer, but he's got a F4
MV Agusta,
and a Ducati Panigale. So he loves motorbikes, and he's. I think it's a. Sometimes you don't know whether they've just come up with, this would be a good line to spin, but it's a genuine...
the drawings they had there and stuff, sort of, okay, I can kind of...
He's so good as well.
He's amazing.
He's always sketching, isn't he? Always,
We were sat, he was having a little audience, wasn't he, with successive groups
black
of...
paper, white pen,
black
white
paper, white crayon. But honestly, he can... I've never seen anyone draw two... not circles, like ellipses, and a line between
freehand. Yeah.
And it was like someone playing a musical instrument or something. It was so clean and effortless.
Because he came and sat down to do that, and I think I was sort of looking down, I was writing something he'd said, and he sat down and he hadn't drawn anything. I wrote something down, looked up, and it's like, how have you done that? That is,
and then he was doing the. Did you see him doing the tape?
Didn't see it. I saw it up there, but I didn't see him doing
full size tape.
Yeah, he just had a board, and he was like, and then. I don't know whether I'd probably have cheated and just had very faint lights to follow. But it was just this perfect, like full scale rear quarter with the tail light and the really, really impressive.
He's so passionate about design, isn't he? Which is what you want from a design director for Lamborghini.
It's they're all very impressive people, and I think they're all, that's one of the great things about going on these launches, isn't it? You get a sense of all the huge amount of energy and intellect that goes into making all these cars, and then here we are, I wish it sounded a bit louder, or you kind of feel like a bit of an idiot for saying it, but I do understand the challenges they've got. I just feel for them, really, because their hands are so tied, aren't they, in terms of what they can do. It's amazing that they've been able to kind of elbow out enough room to make a car and an engine do what that does. How it passes the durability, VW's durability tests, I have no idea.
It was really cool talking to Davide, because he was, again, another one of those people who were just like, this is like really cool. He's an Evo fan as well. He's one of the first things he said was like, I love kind of but all the things he had to overcome to get it to rev that high, and the kind of the diamond-like carbon coatings on the inside. The other thing I was going to say about the motorbike link was they went to the Ducati MotoGP team for the alloy, which is 357 copper, I think.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Yes. To be able to use, because they needed to to put that into the engine. So it was.
I think there's all the internals of the engine, the water jacket, and there's
which
all
is all 3D printed
stuff that's then cast in, and there's 3 foundries in the world that can do it, and and it happens to be the one that Ducati use, I guess, through the Audi connection, maybe.
Because they were originally going to, one of the options was to use that 40 V8s in the Urus and Porsches and stuff like that. Was the kind of first thought, basically, for the new.
Which would have been horrendous.
Yeah, exactly. Actually. So when you kind of look at the options,
not horrendous, but it would have been a bit of a travesty, wouldn't it? Yeah. I think, having just complained about the.
Exactly. So think what it could have been.
Yeah, no, it is a fascinating car, and I think it's exciting to consider or try and think how it will feel on the road, because I think there are aspects of it that will be brilliant. It's just whether it can all come together and make sense.
And if it feels almost too easy on the racetrack, is it going to feel not remote on the road, but will it feel like you're too far down the car's scale of potential? I wonder.
And then how it fits with a 750S will probably feel
that's quite a wild car.
A little bit old, but wild.
Yeah.
But
in the best
much more
way.
to my
it's an amazing thing.
Taste, steering, feel and weight and response wise. And then you've got the Ferrari that's always...
Is the Lamborghini an Artura rival? Is it in terms of price? It's now I get so confused now that baby supercars have got 900 horsepower.
It'll be 300 grand by the time you've spec'd it. If you put because it's got this Allegorita pack,
right,
which is quite a lot of different...
surprisingly
panels,
different, isn't it? Yeah.
Different underfloor, carbon splitter, I think the front lid, engine cover, and then it's got this more pronounced sort of ducktail spoiler.
And you get the carbon trims on the inside of the doors.
Lightweight seats.
Lightweight seats. You get the polycarbonate. You can get polycarbonate windows in it as well.
Oh wow!
Which is kind of...
But it saves like 12.5 kilos or something.
And then got to spend another 20 grand.
How much does that cost? Like 40 grand?
31 grand plus VAT, and then there's best part of 20 grand once you paid the VAT on the carbon wheels.
Oh yeah, because carbon has it.
And
there's a titanium exhaust which is lighter but doesn't sound any different, because I asked, did any of them have titanium exhaust?
Right.
Oh yeah.
Because you just look down the thing and you can see the blue on all of them, because that's the first thing I checked. It's like...
So they put a huge amount of effort into the car, and to make it sort of try and suit all tastes really. And it does looks great in a subdued colour. They had some greys, didn't they, and a few satin colours, but then they had the usual weird, amazing violets and oranges and bright blues and yellows, and it looks just as good in those. So I think it'll...
Blue Marinus and Verde Gir, I think, were the two sort of that matte...
Everything sounds good in Italian, doesn't it?
Yeah, the even when I say it. That matte dark green, which looked really sort of almost army green.
I think it would definitely be one of those cars, you see one go the other way on the motorway, or it'd be like, that was a...
So, and the apertures for the lights are so thin,
really,
aren't they? It's kind of it's pretty cool.
Maybe we need to do this again once we've had the chance to drive one on the road, and we'll do a kind of chapter 2 of this.
Absolutely, I can't wait to drive it again, which is the mark of a good car, isn't it? I hope it confounds some of my
fears
for where it might fall short. But as it's a welcome addition and a different. It's a very different car to the others that are out there. So in that regard,
there's lots to celebrate.
It's down to the customers, isn't it? They'll decide. But no, cool car.
Oh. Well, thank you both so much for your time.
Thanks, James.
And thank you for watching. Just before we go, there's still time to let you know about our Evo track days. We've got 3 left to go this year, 1 at Bedford Autodrome, 1 at Brands Hatch, and a 4-day at Goodwood. If you just Google Evo track days 2025, you'll see the dates there. Come and join us for one of them. And all that's left to say is thanks for listening. See you next time. Bye.
Thank you.